Welcome back again to more about Lake Park with Marj Johnson from the Museum Roadshow. And Marj, your class was a special class because Pearl Harbor was in 41, and you said you graduated 42.
42.
Do you want to tell us what was that year like? It must have been devastating.
It was devastating because all the boys in our class, most of them, had nothing to look forward to but going to war. In fact, 2 of them were killed, 2 cousins.
Cousins.
Earl and Douglas Zachariason, members of my class who were killed. It was a grim time. It was an exciting time because of course we didn't fully understand what could happen and all the rest of it. We did not have a prom. We did not have any of the accoutrements that go along with graduation parties because everything was for the war effort. And we were supportive of that.
Yes.
The country was very supportive of that.
Yeah.
And so after graduation, several of our classmates went right off to war.
And the women went to?
And the women went to work to create the necessary tools and everything else that the men needed in order to fight the war. And certainly working in factories, and there were welders, and there were many, many different kinds of jobs that women could do. And I think history has shown, and I've read some of that the gross national product was increased considerably, and the work was all done by women. There was a national child care, daycare type thing that were set up here and there. I think Truman was the president during that time and was instrumental in helping get that set up. And I went to Detroit, Michigan, and went to school and began making airplanes.
Well, how did you get there?
Well, I guess we rode with some friend. I can't quite remember. It's all driving because
okay, you didn't take the train.
You didn't spend any money on the train. You captured that and kept good care of it because that had to keep you for a while.
Yeah,
as I remember, and it did. But
you were the original Rosie the Riveter?
I imagine so. I guess I hadn't thought of it at the time, but we went to school for 10 weeks to become riveters. And because when I look at those, when I think about the plane now, and we're putting those skins on, which was a pretty thin sheet of aluminum, riveting it on there, and I remember the tolerance was 1/64 of an inch. Wow. And so, and for some reason, I had good spatial instincts, or at least they told me that. I didn't even know. I guess I didn't even understand what spatial meant. But anyway, I bucked rivets till the war was over.
Marj, the country girl in the big city, in a big factory, what was it like in the big factory?
Well, it was noisy, very noisy. In fact, I'm suffering from some of that today with my poor hearing, because we didn't use any protection for hearing. And it was really very noisy, especially riveting, because that was a noisy occupation. It was commotion, confusion, and you carved out your area of work and worked within that somehow or another. I got pretty good at shutting out all the confusion that went around, because it was very important to zero in on this riveting, because, as I told you earlier, we were allowed 1/64 of a deviance, and that wasn't very much space.
No.
I mean, each one of those rivets had to be within that tolerance in order to be passed by federal inspectors, who were there all the time doing the inspecting of your work. And
how many airplanes do you think you worked on?
Oh.
Thousands?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure. They
blew them up so fast.
They blew them up, and they were the fighter planes with the folding wings, and they were brand new to the time, and they landed on aircraft carriers.
Oh, really?
And this was a whole new ball game, in the business of running a war. They were used a lot in the South Pacific. They were called Curtiss-Wright. I think the word was Helldivers. Curtiss Wright Hell Divers.
Okay.
They were
I've heard of them.
single, only one person in there, the pilot. He was also the gunner, and they were dive bombers.
Okay.
And of course, it was important that those rivets hold that skin, which was the aluminum that was riveted to the frame, because if you a rivet, if it let go, would have a tendency to rip like a piece of fabric might, and you didn't want that to happen because the life of that pilot depended on how well you place those rivets.
Absolutely.
And when the men came home, there was no question in any woman's mind
right.
you're going to stop this, because we took men's jobs.
You're
and we
right.
knew that. And so people voluntarily quit their jobs. It wasn't very easy because they were paying pretty good by then. And,
I'm sure.
But you know, once the war was over, a skilled riveter was not much to have around.
No.
Your opportunity for employment was greatly reduced.
I am sure. And then you came back, and things had changed.
Things had changed.
And had the businesses gone down?
Well, it was still pretty good. Yeah, there were some that had closed. Yes, that's true. But that sort of gradually happened over a period of years.
Yeah.
As the roads got better, the cars got better, and people had access to transportation, it took its toll on a town like Lake Park.
It does, doesn't it?
It did. And
you stayed all this time then in Lake Park?
Yes, I have been yes. And then Carolyn and I were married in 1950, and I raised two sons. I have two sons.
And your love for education from the time you went to District 10 to Lake Park, and then in the community.
And then 10 weeks learning how to become a
I'm
riveter.
sorry, yes. 10 weeks learning, that was vocational training.
That was interesting.
And you went on to be on the school board.
Yes, I did. I was appointed to the school board to start with. And then I think I served there for 18 years. I think I kept getting reelected. I believe it was 18 years. I had the opportunity. Then I was also on the School Boards Association Board of Directors. And then I was appointed to the State Board of Education by then Governor Perpich. That's an appointment by the governor with ratification by the Senate.
Well, thank you, Marj, for sharing with us. This has been so much fun, and I've learned so much about Lake Park. We're going to take a tour someday, aren't we?
Yes,
of that whole area. Well, thank you, folks, for taking time, and I hope you enjoyed, as I have, the talks with Marj.